Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Precision TV. I am your host, Hanovi. And for one second, I was kind of getting worried and concerned about the Gen Zers. But I realized that my concern is not as warranted, and I need not fear because they themselves may, in some respects, be logical and critical thinkers. Now, I know that we all think that they're vain and they're not hardworking and they're not as ambitious and they're not as driven, but that may be misconstrued. The fact of the matter is, there is so much more to be had, and their expectations are a little different to us. They might want it a little quicker, and there's so many varied opportunities to get rich and to make money in a short space of time. Whereas our generation was cultured to work hard, put your nose to the ground, get the job done, strap your boots up. If you work hard, you're going to get what you want. And we were contented with going to a traditional job, doing a 9 to 5. We didn't have all these possibilities. I mean, like, there's so many different ways that you can make money and get rich, and there's so many opportunity. Credit is limitless. I mean, I can go on for the rest of the night. And they're definitely not contented with less, they're contented with more. Like, for example, when we would have had a regular car for our first car and we were contented with that. I remember when I was going to college, I had a Mazda MX-6 and I was cool. I was like, wow. However, nowadays days, these kids, they want a big body car. They want nothing less but luxury. And if you ask them and you talk to them, they said, hey, you don't understand. This is not when you were growing up. If you don't have a luxurious car, then forget about it. Nobody's even going to look at you. Nobody's even going to respect you. And I understand. Now, not that I agree with everything they've said or the interpretation of bin Laden's letter. But what I like is the fact that they are willing to question prevailing narratives. And they are not willing just to believe that, hey, we're the good guys and everybody else is bad. And the reason we are being attacked is just because we are the good guys. And the reason they're attacking us, because they are the bad guys. So you saw recently bin Laden's letter going viral. And you saw many of the Gen Zers saying that they're having an existential crisis right now, having read the letter. If we are being intellectually honest, we may understand why these guys would have had some sort of motive to attack us to begin with. If anyone understands and look at what was happening from 1979 to 1989 in Afghanistan, then the picture will become a little clearer. And at that time, you had a 10-year war from 79 to 89 between the USSR and Afghanistan. And of course, it's common knowledge that we provided support to Afghanistan via Pakistan. And of course, I'm sure that we are all familiar with the adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we provided massive support for Afghanistan in that war. But interestingly enough, in 1989, the Soviets, realizing that, hey, this war was unwinnable, decided to pack up their tanks after having lost about 15,000 soldiers and get the hell out of Dodge. The Afghanistanis, however, lost over 1 million people. Yet still, they did not give up, and eventually, they pretty much won the war. Everyone who is familiar with the history of Afghanistan has known that it pretty much has not been conquered in over 500 years. So I believe when the Soviets went in, they knew that this was something in which they will be involved for the long haul. But picture this. Once the war was finished in 1989, guess what happened? The money flow started to dry up. I guess the West decided, hey, look, the war is over. We're not going to help rebuild the country. We're not going to help take care of the maimed and injured, but instead, we're going to pack up and leave. You're on your own. So imagine this. You have a friend. You and your friend are walking the streets. Your friend gets into a confrontation. You decided to help because that is what friends do. After helping your friend, in the process, your friend's enemy pulls out a knife, slashes you on the leg. However, you were able to recover, and eventually you and your friend toppled your enemy. Now, after all of this happens, guess what? Your friend leaves you bleeding and decides he's not going to help you. Now, you can only imagine the way you would be feeling. You might be a little vengeful and want to get back at your friend. While I don't agree with everything and the interpretation that Gen Z has had from reading the letter, because for me, it was a horrible tragedy, and I remember it as it was yesterday. I actually remembered what I was doing on the particular day and will never forget. I am sure everybody would have remembered what they were doing on that particular day. In particular, I was actually coming from Queens, going to a site in Brooklyn where we were working on building some subdivisions. I was working with an environmental engineering company, and we were actually doing the excavation, and we needed to do some additional dust monitoring so that it wouldn't impact too negatively people living in the neighborhood. So, like everybody else, I was listening to 1010 Winds when I heard there was some sort of Cessna plane that had crashed into the World Trade Center. I have very fond memories of the World Trade Center. I remember, I think it was a Barnes and Nobles that was below in the basement, and I used to go to that Barnes and Nobles after I would leave school on my way down. I would stop off, at the World Trade, hang out by the bookstore for a bit. So it was something that was very fun to me. And as I said, I was devastated. To me, it was just a horrible tragedy. Interestingly enough, I had a sister that worked on the 44th floor, but only a few months earlier, she had moved to a job further up Manhattan. But getting back to the current story, where Gen Zers took some sort of interest in this letter that existed ages ago. What concerned me, however, is the way that they were totally canceled and every access to this particular letter was suddenly curtailed. It's just amazing how things have changed and things have turned around in less than 3 to 4 years. In 2020, we were actually encouraging Gen Zers and we were encouraging everybody we could to protest and to challenge the establishment. Of course, that establishment at the time was Donald Trump and his administration. So we were all for that. Yeah, let's challenge Donald Trump, that racist. Well, now that the appetite was created in the Gen Zers, guess what? In some sort of respect, the chickens have come home to roost. But now we can't have it. No way. Because they're questioning us right now. I did warn you guys. And I did say that once the canceling starts, there would be no end to it all. It would eventually swallow up its most ardent supporters. It's like, how dare these Gen Zers think outside the box? Why don't you just pay attention to the big body cars you guys like and be the super consumers you are? This is how we want you. We have you programmed, and we don't want you to break and hack the code. I guess the Gen Z is disappointed them. They didn't fall in line. They broke the line. So it seems the media and the powers that be are taking corrective measures. They're panicking. They're frightened. But once the Gen Zers have had such a taste of free spirit, such a taste of logic and reason, and just like a kid, if you tell that kid, don't do it, guess what? The kid will do it again. So I guarantee you, going forward, you will see more questioning taking place by the Gen Zers. And I believe it's the start of a good thing. Way to go, guys. I'm proud of you.